easy.
Yeah.
So
Perry and I are wondering if you're clear about what you want and need in a relationship, because I'm sure both of us here, I'll just know it when I see it. So I'm wondering, since you're watching this, how's that working for you? Do I sound like Dr. Phil?
nicely done.
Thank you. So today on the new streaming network.com, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast, #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
So we're going to talk about that very subject, about getting clear about what you want and need in a relationship. Because even if you think you know, it would be really helpful to write it down. Barry and I were just talking about how if you write something down, tell them what you said. I love what you said.
Well, basically, I was saying it because I keep track of some information in certain ways. We have to worry about remembering it. I want to know where to find it. It's there. And I learned this from David Allen years ago when he was doing Getting Things Done. He wrote a book called Getting Things Done and taught workshops for years. And he taught way back when I did it with him, probably in the 80s. Because he said, is this back in the day of day planners, not in digital stuff, but before phones came out. Excuse me, before smartphones came out, because phones have been a lot longer. Somebody asked him about why do you write things down? He said, because when I write things down, it's not about remembering them. You write things down to forget them. And in this context, to make it relevant to this conversation, getting clear about what you want isn't about you've got to keep it in your head all the time, memorize. It's about putting it somewhere where you can see it or remember it to look for it, so you can then reference it when you need to, like having as a vision board, which we're going to get into, or just a list somewhere. So we will break this down for you.
Mm-hmm. You can check it off. So I'm going to tell you one of the best reasons I learned, and that I find my female clients, my male ones too, writing it down. If you meet somebody that's really cute, it goes out of your brain. Even if you've got it all up in your brain and you're very good at categorizing and sorting it, and you're going to go into hormone fog. So better to write it down to see that you'll still find out, especially if they're really cute, the important things that are on your list.
That's actually, and I say it from the Danger Will Robinson side of things, because I've talked to several clients and friends as well who have fallen for somebody who they thought was amazing, was so wonderful, didn't quite match their list, but it turns out later on that this person was not what they're looking for, because they were narcissistic or they were ghosting them or other things that happened that weren't pleasant to be around. So getting clear about what you want, including specifics about behavior things, because those can be important too, can save you from something that was almost there, but not quite, but also can be extremely negative for you as well.
It's really true. So what I recommend, and Barry will talk about what he recommends, is to write it down. And I suggest the 4 categories of mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, and write down the traits that you have to have, that you cannot live without. And Barry and I have talked repeatedly about the things that are really essential to us, and they're very much on the top of the list. Now, some people, especially if they've been in a hard relationship with a divorce or a breakup, you're welcome to start with me. The list that you don't want, write it all down, spell it all out, write down the traits and turn them into sentences about what was bad and why you didn't like it. Because it's great fodder to now create your list of what you'd like, because you don't want to keep concentrating on what you don't want, because I'm assuring you it'll show up. But if you use that as a template to say, I don't like somebody that's a narcissist, well, how would you learn how to not pick a narcissist? I want somebody who's available or will make a commitment or will be nice to me. What would you like instead? And spell it out. So then you have information to ask them questions to find out, are they this or that? Mm-hmm. Because if you only concentrate on what you're looking for, what you have to have, that's all you'll see. And if somebody shows up that isn't that, you're just going to pass them by. It's so helpful.
Yeah.
That's just the basic foundation starting place. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll add a couple more tools to this. I know we're doing backwards and way. We're talking about tools first, then getting into the other part.
Yeah.
But a couple of ones I use a lot with my clients and things I learned myself. One is fairly well known, which is basically vision boards. And if you have another vision board, it's straightforward. Basically, the key thing in the vision board is, generally speaking, most people's vision boards are a global thing about everything in their lives versus one specific thing. But you can do vision boards for each area you want to focus on in your life. So you can do one for job, for money, for health, and for relationship if you want to do it that way. The thing about vision boards that are key is, first of all, you want to put it somewhere you can see it. And a poster board is the best sort of size to use. So you usually put it up on a wall somewhere. You can get cut out piece from magazines and build it that way, or keywords, stuff like that. But one of the key things is that when you're doing a vision board, it has to be, first of all, affirmative, positive languaging. So not, again, like you were saying, it's not about they're not this. No, it's what are they instead that you want to have. So in the vision board, it mirrors what you're talking about with the list you said. Additionally, you want to have a picture of yourself in the vision board, because then you place yourself in the vision, in the relationship. Because if you just have a vision board of great things, you're not in it. It's kind of like, well, that's very nice, but how do you relate to it? How do you connect to it? So a picture of yourself on the vision board is a good thing as well. And the third thing is to, again, as I said earlier, put it somewhere you can see it so you keep noticing it. It doesn't have to be where you're going to look at it all the time, although spending 5 minutes looking at it every day isn't a bad thing. But at least it's somewhere in your line of sight, so your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind is noticing it and catching the feeling of it. It's a great thing. The second tool that I learned, actually, from a grad school, is what we call an ideal scene, or a living vision is another way of putting it, which basically is not a visual image-based thing. It's a written one, but it's similar to what you're saying, writing it down. But rather than making a list, a ideal scene is basically where you put, it's more like a mind map, if you've ever done mind map. So basically you have a key thing, focal point in the middle of the sheet. And in ideal scene language, it's usually a heart shape, and then it's got like the word like relationship, or it's got something I am in there. In fact, one way to do it is you put the statement I am in the middle of that heart, in the middle of the chart, and then you put spokes off of that heart, and each spoke is a statement. So instead of saying, like putting a list like they want somebody who's loyal to me, then you write down something on the ideal scene that says, I love how loyal we are to each other. So it becomes a statement, a sentence, a declaration of that quality. And you do a statement for 1 or 2 qualities per line. You could have 20, 30 lines around this central hub. If you were to get decorative, you do it. It can be done with the computer. I've done it with the computer myself, where I built graphics to do it, make it properly. But frankly, most people just do it with pen and paper. So you write, you put a heart in the middle, you draw lines off the middle. It can be squiggly lines, straight lines, whatever you want. You can make it flowery, decorate it, anything you want. But again, like the vision board, it's something that lifts up your spirits by doing it, because you're enjoying the process, and it affirms what you're looking for, so you can be tied into it. So it's a really powerful and elegant way of having visual reminders of what you're looking for.
I love that. I remember diagramming sentences when I was in school, and we did that, which is why I love mind mapping. And the additional layer I would say to that is, so now you've done the circle and you've done the lines with the words loyal. And then you say, what does that mean? Put a sentence or a couple words. In your world, what does loyal mean? Does it mean you stay in touch with each other all day? Does it mean that you never lie? Does it mean you are completely committed to each other with no one else as a priority in your life? I mean, some people come in with these really interesting expectations that they don't voice to the other person to find out, do you have the same expectations of you and me in this relationship? So a little bit more explanation is, I think, helps, because we don't think of it that way. That's where we still think we're just going to know it when we see it. So writing down just a little more detail gives you a chance to say, oh, I need to find out about that, or I need to tell them this is about me.
Yeah. In fact, we'll say, to underscore that, the thing with what I was saying about the writing, whether it's on a vision board with pictures or if it's on an ideal scene, putting out the words, is when you put those things down, you write them down, or you put the picture up, it ideally stirs something in you. So you get a visceral feeling about it, because then it charges it up. It gives it fuel or energy to move. So, because if you write things down and you go, yeah, I want this, this, and this, and part of you's just like bored doing it, it's not really going to excite you. And so it's not really going to draw things to you. But if you put juice into it, or you get juice out of it by what you put up there, that becomes, again, something that adds to the fuel to the fire. And like you were saying earlier about having all the qualities, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, doing the vision board or the ideal scene, same thing applies. You write things down or put things on there that affirm or clarify or support all 4 areas of your experience, so you really feel it on all those levels.
And we often learn differently. We're auditory, we're visual. So sometimes it will really help if you look at it and you write it down and you say it out loud. It will get in from different areas and different places and really land in you. And then you'll find the way that you take it in even more. And then the other's just icing if you do a couple of them. You know, if you write and look, or you write and then say, just to see what seems to help it feel more real. Because what I do a lot, and I think you have said it too, that there's times when I bring something up to a client, they're like, I don't know if I can believe that. And I go, that's okay. I'm really good at holding other people's beliefs, right? You and I just talk about, I'm going to sit right here in my little office chair and I'm going to hold the belief for you because I know eventually you'll get it. I really have great faith in that because
Yeah.
it takes the pressure off of, I don't feel that way right now. That's okay. Just do it anyway, because eventually it will sink in.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing that is key as well, is finding ways to get it in. So, I talk about we're doing it where you definitely look at it every day, or you catch your attention. How does it feel when you look at it? How does it feel when you see it? And say it out loud so you can hear what you're saying, because it gives it affirmative qualities that really do it. And think about the feelings, think about experience you want to have. Because the other thing about these tools is they ideally provoke or inspire or evoke experiences you want to have, that you're looking forward to. And of course, if they evoke experiences and stuff from the past that doesn't work, that's a different topic. We'll talk about that another time, but know that they can be useful. They can be triggers as well. But the thing is, ideally, you're doing this after you've done the inner healing work before you can get there. So you're writing down these qualities and things you want to have when you've already healed past wounds and baggage, which we talked about in plenty of previous episodes. You can listen to us there.
Thank you. Yes, that's so true. And the belief is sometimes, even if you really do know you're worth it, if you've not had this happen to you yet, it's sometimes, especially us as people, who we need to see it to believe it, and people can believe it even if you don't see it. So because that's where I live, I'm fine with you. You don't get it yet? Cool. We believe, we know that it could happen. At least you realize it could happen in the future. That you don't believe it right now, it's really okay. It's really okay. Because what happens fast is you'll start seeing positive reinforcement that it's starting to happen now that you're dating differently. Because that's the thing. You just want to learn how to date differently because it's not working the way you're doing
it. Clearly.
So one of the other ways I have suggested to people that to figure out what really do you want and need is to find people in your life, hopefully, who have had a happy, healthy relationship for at least 10 years. It's not happy all the time, which is really important to find out how they gotten through it and how did they meet and what did they do after the first 3 months? What did they do after the first 6 months? And to add some of those things to your list that you're now going to have some really good future thinking about. Gosh, I know that there'll be some bumps and this is what they did. Here's some suggestions for people who have slogged through it and are stronger and better in their own and in their relationship. So interview them. I found people who have, that's been very helpful to go in, and people that are happy like talking about where they're happy, because what I tell people is generally you're not going to see them as much on Facebook. You're going to see a lot more of the searching and unhappy people. So go seek them out and ask them, how'd you do it? I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because especially if your own track record hasn't been as ideally great as you want it to be, and you're looking back and going, wish I'd had it differently, having role models, people you can use as references, besides working with a coach, client, therapist, whoever you're working with, to have just models in life, neighbors, friends, family members, who you look at and go, their relationship works really well. Become a student of what they've done, and you can really become a sponge in a way of what works for them. And yes, having the understanding that what they've gone through to get there hasn't necessarily been easy all the way. So there's work to do, because the relationships usually are not euphoria the whole way through. They do have hiccups, speed bumps, that like that. So finding people who've been through that and come out the other side shining and bright and really strong, if nothing else, you can hold the space like, if they can do it, I can do it. And it can be that simple a hold. Not even like you have to interview them and get really skillful and know what they do. Just seeing them as a model, as an example, is proof that it can happen. So why not for you?
That's such a good point, that it can help people feel hopeful. Because if it's not happening for you, it's pretty easy to go down that discouraged, frustrated, I'm going to give up path. So if you see people that have done it, and even to add people who are kind of new, they're in their first year, they haven't gone through as many things. But if because 10 years, you're like, well, it's different. It's different now. Okay, we all sound like teenagers then. So then ask somebody that's a year, they've gotten through a year and they've gone through all the 4 seasons. And what have they been through and how did they get through it? And what sorts of things did they discover whoa, we're kind of different and we worked it out because we like all the same things. So ask them, seek out some people that at least a year, at least the 4 seasons. Yeah. I think that could be really helpful to help us feel more hopeful.
Well, yeah, because we have this tendency as human beings to turn inward a lot of times when things aren't working, and we spend a lot of time moping around and being less than positive towards ourselves because we messed up in a relationship and all those different things. And again, we talked about this sort of thing of getting through the pain, the heartbreak, and everything else many times in previous episodes. We've done over 200 and something episodes, so we'll talk more about that at the end of the show. We can find those, but definitely we covered that before. So in this conversation, it's about what to do after that point. Well, if you have done the healing work, you might feel like you're just a clean slate with no direction because you haven't got anything to focus on. So start building experiences, building images, reflections, things that are showing you what's possible back to you. Whether it is, vision boards, ideal scenes, writing a list, meeting people, finding friends, people who are out there have done it for themselves. It really starts to fill you up with positive experiences that you can say, I can do this. I do deserve this. I can have what I really want. Because maybe it's that point you haven't seen that. So these are good confirmation ways of getting clear and having what you want more easily.
It becomes a more well-trod path if you haven't ever done this before. Mm-hmm. And lately, because there's a lot of occasions and events that happen in the summertime, the single people are complaining, oh my gosh, I go to this thing and everybody's in couples and I feel really like a third wheel. Okay, if you really want to go to the thing and you think it'll be fun to go to the thing, then change your attitude about, wow, I'm surrounded by these people who are doing really well. I have this sample people to ask things about that I can ask them. And to now look at those people and talk to them and say, oh, I have some things I want to add to my list because look at what they have inside of them or look what they have in their relationship. I didn't put that on my list. I want that. And if you see people not acting so loving and caring, go back and put it on what you don't want list and change it into what you would like. I mean, if you stop being so internal about I'm broken, I have all these things wrong with me, certainly come talk to us. We'll help you heal that. And if you are now to the place where you don't think you're broken and you don't think that there's all these things wrong with you, and you're still in a room full of people that are coupled up, then use it as fodder to go, what do I need to add to my list? I have more people to ask. And the other thing I tell people is when you're really clear about who you are and what you want, you tell people. I tell everybody, do you know anybody single, a man who's single in their 60s or 70s? Do you want to know more criteria or is that enough? There's all these people who might know somebody. It doesn't hurt to ask. And if they say, what is it you need? You now have your list of the things, the top 3 or 4 things that are really important to you.
Yes. And I know we're going to take a break in a minute. So I want to talk more when we come back about how to get really clear and really start looking for what you really want as well. But before we do that.
So if this is piquing your interest and you're like, wow, I've never thought about a list that way or vision boards, I need to talk to them. The way to get a hold of me is to go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Scroll to the middle of the page. You'll see a What's Holding You Back from Love questionnaire. Click on that. There's 10 brief questions about where you are and where you'd like to be. And then you'll have access to my online calendar and you can schedule a complimentary conversation with me at your convenience. You can also send me a personal private email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And Barry, how do they get a hold of you?
Similar to Christine, I have a website. So go to my website, which is barryselby.com. My name's easy to find, so barryselby.com. And similar to Christine, there is a link at the top. Mine, it's at the top of the screen, which is basically let's chat, and that will take you to a questionnaire as well, and my calendar. So basically, we can schedule a time to talk that fits in your calendar as well, to really help you navigate what you're looking for, and I'll give you some more tips and some guidance, and also see if we want to work together. Because frankly, it's not just you need help; it's also can I help you? Because if you're not, It's one of those mutual meeting conversations. So that's one thing on my website. And if you want to drop me an email, you send one to barry@barryselby.com, and I'll give you more details there as well. And I'll tell you more about the rest of my stuff at the end of the show.
We're going to have a commercial break for this wonderful station that carries our podcast, and we'll be right back with more information about how to get clear about what you want and need in a relationship.
Yep.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. And today we're talking about getting clear about what you want and need in a relationship.
Indeed.
So Barry and I have talked about a variety of ways to write down what it is you're looking for. And then it's helpful if you prioritize them, put the most important things at the top, and then go down to the things that aren't as important so that you know the things you want to find out about right away. The other list to make is, what about you? Why are you a catch? Why are they lucky to be with you? What are the things that you bring to a relationship? Think of the positive things that you gave to the person before you, whether they were an awful person and you got divorced or broke up, or a wonderful person and they died. Write them all down. Because one of the challenging things I found is you sometimes really do believe them when you're in a relationship and the person's appreciating them or giving back in a way that lets you feel that, oh, they see that I'm a nice person or a giving person or a helping person. And then that person's gone. And if you haven't owned that, then those feelings go away. So if anything, write down what they used to say, even if you don't believe it, but write down that they thought you were smart, or beautiful, and a good worker, or a loyal person. And then if you still can't believe it, then you really could talk to Barry or I, because we're going to help you believe it, especially if somebody you cared about at that moment thought this about you. People are very confused about why they don't believe it anymore. And it's because they didn't internalize it, which we have talked about a lot. Because the name of my company is The Perfect Catch, because you need to learn how to be one before you can attract one. And Barry and I are really clear about the self-work that you need to do. It's part of the getting clear part for sure.
Yeah, because getting clear, oftentimes people, especially after breakups, tend to not be clear because they're busy looking at what didn't work, and so they're stuck in the looking in the rearview mirror all the time. And I've said this many times in my own work with my clients about it's really hard to drive a car looking in the rearview mirror the whole time. But we seem to date that way. We seem to be stuck in our process of like, I don't want anything like that, so I'm looking to work away from that. And basically, what you energetically doing is you're walking backwards away from what you don't want and banging into somebody who might be the right one, but you've no idea. So our intention, and what's about here, is how to get clear. Is you got to turn around and face where you want to go. As simple as that sounds, it's amazing that people don't get the simple principle that by getting clear what they really want, is facing them in the right direction where they want to head versus where they don't want to go anymore. So it's important, yes, to get clear about what you want. And it's interesting because we're talking at the title about what you want and need, because those are two very different things. Because what you want may sound amazing and wonderfully experiential and everything else, but there's some needs you need to have in a relationship that are basically like the groundwork upon which you can build the wants. So really, it's some kind of like, what do you need in a relationship? Which sounds simplistic, but really it comes down to, do you want someone who's going to stay with you all the time, who's monogamous? Those are needs for me. Wants are things like, we go exploring, go traveling together, or we cook in the kitchen together. Those are fun things and have great sex and everything else too, which frankly, that's a need, not a want for me, but that's another story. Yeah. But I want to say that,
I confirm that, yes.
But this is the thing we'll say is that the needs are the bedrock in a way. That when you have the needs clear about what you want to have in a relationship, and maybe you do base it on what you didn't work in the past relationship. Maybe they were cheating on you, and then you're clear about what must happen is you need someone who's loyal. That becomes the foundation block which you build upon. So when you have those needs in place, then all the wants that you want on top of that are really like gravy. They're the luxuries. They're the joyful things. They're the bow on top of the gift. So get clear about what you really want, but start with what you need first, and it's going to help you build what you want. What's a relationship you're going to attract? And like you're saying with, if you're meeting people and friends and you're saying, do you know somebody who's this age category and this sort of thing? Well, those are fundamentals too. Those are basically needs, but then it's like your list of needs isn't just that. You know, you want somebody who, I mean, I want somebody who's going to be take care of themselves, who's healthy, because I want to do that for myself. But I don't need someone who's a vegan, because that's not what I do. You know, so you got to clear what is a need and what isn't a need, you know?
Yeah, boy, it's such an important distinction between want and need.
Yeah.
And the other way to get clear is when you're out doing social things, you're going to learn a lot about you. Gosh, I used to really like crowds, not so much anymore. Or, wow, I didn't think I would like doing improv, but I like it now. You know, it was something that I didn't feel comfortable in my past relationship. And what do I want now? And so when you start exploring and expanding who you are and the kinds of things that make you happy, and now you're in a group of other people that are doing the same thing, probably because it makes them happy, then probably all of the people there have a need. It's not always the same need that's getting fulfilled, but they all have a need that's getting filled by this. So
Yes.
fun to find out, you know, what made you come and what just, you know, gets you all juiced up and excited about having somebody throw something at you and you need to come up with a funny way of talking about it or tell a story about it. Because that's not for everybody, but how fun to find a bunch of people who like that. I have 2 clients that now, if they're taking improv classes, because one of them was so excited about it, and the other one said, I'm going to stretch. I'm going to go do this thing.
But that's a
And they're
way.
both really enjoying it. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. It is finding things that really ideally do take you to a new level you haven't played at before. So, you know, joining out with bound groups or do stuff with you know, animal shelters. There's so many ways you can play and do things you maybe haven't done before. It expands your horizons, and yes, exposes you to new audiences, new people you've met before. So, because we talked previous episodes not that long ago about dating apps and things like that too, but it's not the only place to meet somebody. In fact, sometimes the apps are limiting what you can choose. Whereas if you go out somewhere in real life, so to speak, we go out to the farmers market, or you go out to social gatherings. You know, July 4th's coming up, so there's lots of celebratory experiences you can go to where you can meet people. So get clear of what you want before you even leave the house, where you can start to look around and just notice people. Because one of the things about knowing what you want is you can meet people and start noticing their traits and their qualities without them saying, without even talking to them. Mm-hmm. So it becomes we'll say like a guidance system, but it is in a way it helps you clarify. Because if you know you want someone a certain way, when you meet people in real life, they say 2 or 3 things and you know right up front, this is not going to be a good match. So it's good to have that up front to know where you stand. So what you're looking for is almost preceding you when you go out in the world.
So important. And when you're writing down what you need and want in these 4 categories, so you write it really have to have need list. And then the want list is what would be nice to have. That's the second list. That now it'll help you even more refine, well, if I need somebody who's really active and they like biking or hiking or swimming, let me choose places that have that happening, that you don't just helter-skelter, that you have a targeted thought, a targeted destination, that your goal is to go there and do the thing. You want to go biking or hiking and meet people in general that like the same thing. And then maybe somebody that you'd like to have coffee with or go on a private walk with them. So this list is very helpful because if you haven't really thought about it and written it down, the thing will just go by and you won't even zero in on it. Oh gosh, I'd really like that because I wrote that down. I mean, I have people tell me that later when we come up with these lists. They're like, oh yeah, I've seen that, but I never even thought about doing something. That would be really fun. So when you put it in the front of your mind, in your conscious mind, you will be so surprised the opportunities that will show up, especially when you really are focusing on it.
It is like a magnet in a way. And that's one of the great things about doing it is that you don't necessarily go out looking, you don't go talk to people and say, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? It's not like that. You're not actually going interviewing people. That's a whole different conversation. It's about really spending time being immersed in the feeling of it, to really own that experience of it. So when you're out meeting people, you find yourself connecting and clicking with people who are actually in the space you're looking for as well. So it can be really good as a not unconscious, but under the radar sort of focusing point. So it's a great ways to play. So it's the thing is, to just go back to the overarching theme, it's like it's easy to meet anybody out in the world, no problem. You know, you can meet somebody and talk to them at the grocery aisle, wherever you are. But when you start getting refined and clear about what it is you really do want, what you really need, and that's anchored in your beingness, when you go out in the world, you'll almost see them like lights in amongst the darkness sort of thing, where you'll just see something and go, oh, that person clicks and connects. And that becomes a really cool way of meeting people, because then your chance of meeting somebody you want who fits what you need is more likely, because your radar is scanning for that.
It's a very helpful filtering system, because when I meet people that have been deeply hurt, they're still very much concentrating, I don't want that. So they keep thinking, I need to really look out for that. I need to make sure they're not that. And they're so frustrated that that keeps showing up. And as Barry and I are going to continue to say, what you concentrate on, you're going to notice.
Yes.
And it's interesting because people want to say, oh, it shows up. It doesn't just come out of the blue. It's that you notice. So I've said this, but I think it's a long time ago. My late husband was in the car business forever. And he told me once that the most unpopular color of car is blue. Just not a lot of people look for blue. You know, there's all the pictures there, but they don't pick blue. And I've given people the assignment and done it myself. For the next week, just notice if there's blue cars. There's a lot of blue cars if you're looking for blue cars. So if you're looking, if you keep paying attention to, I don't want this, it's not that other good things aren't showing up, it's what you're noticing because you're thinking about blue cars. So if you now say, well, what would I like instead? I'm going to look for that. I'm going to concentrate on that. So if your favorite color is red or green or whatever, you would now amazingly notice that color car. And it's not that there's any more of them in the world. It's kind of fascinating how to just do that and then equate it to dating.
Well, the thing is, what that's doing is showing you how your attention works. Because the thing is that there's so much information and data out around us in the world. I mean, I'm getting to metaphysical for a moment here, but basically look around, there's so much stuff out in the world that's coming at us. We can't process everything that comes at us. If you I mean, there's scientific research into this. Something like how many thousands of discrete things hit us every second from our senses, from what's around us in the world. We have built-in filtering systems. That's one of the things that we're so smart about. Our human brain can process and digest and ignore so much, as well as focus on what it needs. So this idea about getting clear about what you want and what you need in a relationship, when that becomes part of what your focusing system is, then what you notice is going to be those things that you're looking for versus all the other stuff that's coming at you. So that's why dating is so challenging when you don't know what you're looking for, because you're being overwhelmed by so many choices, so many things out there, or nothing out there because you can't see anything, and it's not getting you where you want to go. So having that focusing system, shall we call it, having that list of what you want, that vision board, those things, they're focusing systems to get you narrowed down to know what you're really looking for. So when you're out in the world, you start to pick up clues and senses and hints along the way that go, that person might fit what I'm looking for. Let me go talk to them.
It is so true. And the other thing is, I had belonged to a networking speaker thing for 10 years, and I'd heard about it for 3 years. Somebody would just mention, do you know about the Inside Edge? Have you heard about the Inside Edge? I'm a member of the Inside Edge. It just kept floating by. And then one year, I heard about it 3 times in a month. So I said, I'm going to go once, because you have to be there at friggin' really early in the morning, which was hard for me. And I went and I was hooked. I stayed for 10 years. So the thing that will happen is when you say, I'm looking for an intellectual conversation, I'm looking for somebody that's fun, I'm looking for something that would be really active, then you're really paying attention to, oh, somebody suggested that, or it popped up on my Facebook feed, where if you weren't thinking it as all that bazillions of information, it's just going to go by. So be really open once you've said, I really need this. It might show up in a weird way, a way that you hadn't expected, a way that you would normally have not noticed. It could be helpful.
That's so true. So key. That the gift of this, it's I mean, I know we're hyping it up, making it very visible, but the reality is this is something that we are passionate about because it works. I mean, it's one of the tools we teach our clients. So the understanding how you can use this as a focusing system, as you're sighting when you're out in the, like, you know how when you're driving, you got a destination, you know where you're going to go. Same thing is true here. Is when you have clarity of what you're looking for, you know where you're going to go in your life to meet somebody like that. And what happens is also, kind of like the thing we said here about the Inside Edge, you might hear about some social thing that you keep hearing about, and it gets repeated so many times, the body goes, why do I keep hearing about this? And if you decided to go, you might suddenly go, that's why, because you met the person or several people who fit your criteria. So it isn't about necessarily that you're going to meet the person right away, but you'll get clues, hints, events, attractions, things that pull your attention that might be the doorway or the bridge to meet that person. So once you start doing this, just be aware of what your attention's pulling into you.
Oh, I made lifelong friends. I heard amazing speakers. I learned, I got on the leadership team and got extra experience with that. It was so many amazing things that it brought to my life that I'm glad that whoever kept sending them to me didn't give up, that I kept not listening. I just wasn't ready to get up so early in the morning. So just keep noting. I don't want to do that yet, but interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. It just, and then when it keeps showing up over and over, it usually has something important to say to you. At least go once, go check it out once, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know. So if this has been helpful or interesting or frustrating there, like I never thought about it that way, and maybe that's why this isn't working, because I haven't met too many people who don't have a list, but generally it's not the ways that you and I suggest, because we've been doing this for such a long time and know what works for vast majority of people. So if you would love to talk to me, you would go to my website and scroll to the middle. It's www.theperfectcatch.com. Click on the What's Holding You Back from Love questionnaire. Be happy to talk to you, get you on my calendar. You can also send me an email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. If you're on my website, please scroll down to the bottom and click on all my social media links of Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. And on the YouTube, you'll get to see all of the podcasts that Barry and I have done. You can also join my mailing list there to get a repeat of the podcast and hear what I'm doing in my life. And you can get a copy of my free dating ebook. Click at the top. All I ask is that you give me a review and tell me what you think about it. I would be so grateful. Nice. And Barry, how would people get a hold of you?
Well, if you go to my site, there isn't a free ebook at this point, but there are other things you can find there. So, so on my website, again, barryselby.com. At the top of the screen, as mentioned, there's a link to get on my calendar. We can talk. At the bottom of the screen is an option to join my email list, where you also get the replay of this show every week, as well as other things I'm working on, other things I'm talking about. At the middle of the screen is one of my new quizzes. I have 2 quizzes. The first quiz is on the middle of the screen on the homepage of my website, which is also, you can go to by going to barryselby.com/quiz, is really what I call my relationship readiness assessment. And it really is, are you ready for a relationship? Are you even ready to think about getting clear about a relationship? It's really some key questions that will have you consider for yourself what you're ready for. I recommend doing the quiz because it gives some feedback, and it gives you an email which explains where you are and what's working, what can be improved, and if you want some extra help. So definitely recommend taking the quiz. As I mentioned, there's 2 quizzes. The second quiz I wrote, which is really about looking at your own self in the mirror. What is your relationship with yourself like? And it's basically your self-relationship assessment. And if you go to barryselby.com/self-quiz, it's all about the self, you'll actually go through a whole bunch of questions that cover 7 different areas of your relationship with yourself. And when you look at that and refer to that, it will give you really maybe some perceptions you hadn't seen before that give you clarity about where you want to go and what you've done before that might show you what you can improve so you can have a better relationship with somebody else. So there's that on there too. Also, my website is my book, which is, if you go to barryselby.com/book, or find it through navigation. That's my best-selling book. So I don't have a free ebook, I'm sorry, but I have a real book you can get. Sorry, real book, physical book you can get. There's also in Kindle and the ebook and everything else too. And if you go on that page at the top of the screen, there's a little audio track you can play. It's a 12-minute or just over 12-minute review of my book by 2 really well-trained AI voices that do a very good review of what my book's about. So if you want to test drive and find out more about my book before you buy it, go there and have a listen to that audio. It's really good stuff. Other things on my website as well. And something else I mentioned quickly, I have an offering coming up next month in July, which is my emotional freedom 30-day experience that I'm offering to 5 select people. I've got 2 spots filled right now with 3 left. If you want to have more emotional freedom, just send me an email again at barry@barryselby.com, and I'll send you more details about it, and we'll have a conversation and see if it fits for you. That's a special offer, one time only. I'm offering to 5 individuals. So check that out as well. Social media, to finish up, you can find me on all my social media platforms under my name, Barry Selby. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Blue Sky. If you want to find me on Instagram or Threads, it's The Real Barry Selby. I think that's everything.
Fabulous. So we are live here every Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern. And we would love for you to watch us live and share with your friends. And if you can't watch us live, you can now go back and watch us on YouTube or Roku on your television. But if you can't watch us, you can listen to us while you're out, right, Barry?
Indeed, yes. We are now officially podcasting. So all our shows we've done over the last 200 plus episodes are available on the podcast platform. So Apple, Spotify, all those platforms where you can listen to podcasts. You can take us with you wherever you go. If you're shopping, hiking, biking, driving, wherever you want to go, we can't look at the screen and you want to listen, you can now do that. So check us out. You'll binge on our talks.
I know. And if you have friends that are having challenges with their dating and relationship lives, please share our podcast, either audio or visual, with them, and like and review, because we would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And then we appreciate you watching and listening. We know you have lots of people to listen to, and we're grateful that you pick us. And we will be back next week with another fun subject.
We'll see you then. You take care of yourselves.
Bye.